Let me take this time and welcome you to this video. Today I want to talk about IT strategy. But now the question is, where should I start? I think the main thing is to look at the business goal or the enterprise goal. Immediately after identifying enterprise goal and enterprise objectives, you need to look at other strategies. For example, you also have to look at communication strategy. But this time I want to talk about IT strategy. So basically, once we talk about IT strategy, you will remember the most where we are talking about M for mission, where we are talking about O for objectives. In other words, when an organization is started, it is started to accomplish a particular mission. And for that mission to be accomplished, you also have to have objectives that are in line with that particular mission. Now, thereafter, you must come up with a strategy, and later on, you must come with tactical plans. And that is where the word most comes from. But this time, I'm not talking about organizational strategy. I want to talk about IT strategy. And what I can tell you is that it has to be aligned and integrated with the business strategy. You will remember that if ever it is not aligned with the business strategy, at the end of the day, it will not be addressing or helping the organization to achieve its objectives. Hence, the need to align it and integrate it with the organizational strategy. When we talk about strategic plan, we are talking about a plan that will help the organization to achieve its objectives. And in this case, when we talk about IT strategic plan, we are talking about a plan that will help the organization to achieve its objective. But this time, the focus is on the IT. How is IT going to help the business to achieve its objectives? Now, it is a strategy that will enable the business to achieve its goals. So the point that I'm trying to drive home is that after having a strategic plan for the organization, you must develop an IT strategic plan. This is the plan that will help you to achieve or to assist the business to achieve its objectives. Remember, you exist because the business exists. So there is no way where you cannot consult the business when drafting your strategic plan. There is no way where the business cannot be involved when drafting your IT strategic plan. Business must be there. But remember, it is the business that must be satisfied with the plan that you are going to implement. Remember, when we talk about IT strategic plan, we are talking about IT projects that needs to be implemented in order to help the business to achieve its objectives. So hence, once we talk about projects, it means the business must be involved. Because those projects, in one way or the other, they should be helping the business to attain its objectives. So hence, once we talk about projects, when talking about IT strategic plan, we will be telling you that the projects that you are implementing must be part of the plan, must be helping you to achieve your mission as an IT department. The question that I have for you now is, who are you in the organization? Are you there to support or are you there to enable the business? Because this is very important. And you can only enable the business when you understand the business or the objectives of that particular business. This can only be achieved when you understand the business very well. But I have come to realize that there are a number of barriers that can make you not to align your IT strategy with the business strategy. And one of those barriers is that of failure to articulate the strategy. With this barrier, you find that Indeed, you have the leadership in the organization, but the way the leadership provides leadership on strategic issues, sometimes it becomes a challenge, meaning that the failure this time is at strategic level. It is failure to articulate the strategy itself, failure to articulate the strategic plan itself. And that confuses those who are in the middle management or those who are at the operational level. But when you have leadership that provide leadership on strategic issues, it becomes easier for you to integrate and align your activities with the business activities. Hence, this type of barrier is referred to as expression barrier, where you find that the leadership is there, but it is failing to express the content of the strategic plan, for an example. And once the leadership fails to do that, it becomes a challenge for those who are supposed to implement the provisions of the strategic plan. The other challenge that I can share with you is with regard to specification, where this kind of barrier is referred to as specification barrier. But with this one, you find that business fails to involve IT management when drafting its strategy. And once that happens, you find that the IT management fails to understand the business needs. It fails to understand the content of the business strategy, and where it ends up making the IT strategy and the business strategy not talking to each other. But for this not to happen, you always have to involve the business as an IT department. And the business has to always involve the IT management when discussing strategic issues. Remember, at the end of the day, you have to ensure that there is alignment. The other barrier that I can share with you is with regard to implementation. You find that, yes, the strategy is there and there are projects that need to be implemented, but at the end of the day, the challenge is that integration of those projects in the existing system, it becomes a challenge. Maybe because of different versions. You find that the systems that are there are no longer having support from the suppliers. And the question now that remains is, do we take the whole system out of the organization, or do we forget about upgrading? So that one, I'm telling you, it is also a challenge. Meaning that as an IT manager, you have to take care of all these barriers. You have to consider all these kind of barriers and make sure that they don't happen. Alignment with the business is important. Once we talk about IT strategy, we are talking about a strategy that has been aligned with the business strategy. If this strategy is not aligned with the business, definitely it cannot help the business to attain its objectives. So you are there to make sure that the business attain its objectives. Now the question is, how do we come up with this strategy that we are talking about? I'm telling you, there are a number of techniques that can be used to come up with IT strategy. But let me tell you that the most common one that we have been using is the SWOT analysis. In this one, you look at your strength as a department. You look at your strength as an organization. You look at your strength in terms of the resources that we have. You look at your strength in terms of skills that we have. You look at the infrastructure. Do we have reliable infrastructure? And remember, strength and weakness in the SWOT analysis, those are internal issues, meaning that you look at internal issues. When you look at yourselves without looking outside of yourselves, are you capable? Do you think you have the capacity? What are your weaknesses? And let me tell you that you list those weaknesses honestly so. If ever you don't have skills, you say that in black and white that you don't have skills. Remember, at the end of the day, whatever strategy that needs to be implemented, it has to consider your strength. It has to consider your weaknesses so that it can help you to move forward. Remember, when we talk about strategy, we are talking about a plan that will help you to attain the goal, meaning that it is a plan that will help you to reach your future. Now, before you start implementing projects that will help you to reach your future, you must look at yourself. You look at your strength, you look at your weaknesses. Thereafter, you come up with projects that will help you to reach out your future. It is important for you to look at yourself. The other thing that I want to help you or to request you to look at is the threats. These are external, outside your environment, outside your business, outside your IT department. What are your threats? Sometimes you can say, but the challenge that we have here is that legislation can be changed. Remember, you don't have control over legislation. It is a different political team that will sit down and mobilize and say we need to change this particular legislation. So that is a threat. And the other thing can be in terms of suppliers. Suppliers might say that we no longer support this. Those are the threats that you must list. The other thing might be the market, the industry itself. But the point that I want to request you to consider is that when you look at yourself, you must also look outside yourself. Threats are some of those things that can make you not to succeed. But when you look at them honestly, so you are able to say that in order to avoid this, we need to implement this particular project. So there is no way where you can make a plan without considering the threats. Remember, you need to have support from government. You need to have support from politicians. You need to have support from all the external stakeholders. But the point that I want to drive home is that you need to consider the threats. But let me tell you that again, what are the opportunities? Remember, when the organization or when the government is changing a particular legislation, for you it can be an opportunity. Say, for example, you are an educational institution. Once the government is saying that we are changing this legislation, you can immediately jump into it and say, we need to introduce courses that will start to train people on the new changes. But now, as an IT, how do you get involved there? Because IT must be seen assisting the business to reach its new goals. Remember, as a business, you will be changing strategy from time to time. That is why now people are talking about agile business. Now, an agile business is a business that continuously look at itself and look at the market and look at different factors that has impact on the business and change or implement changes accordingly. But now, as an IT, how do you support an agile business? A business that continuously look and review its strategic plan. How do you assist the business to be very agile or to be agile in a manner that it is able to respond appropriately to the changes that are happening around it? Now, as an IT, you also have to be agile. You also have to monitor and make decisions. You also have to make sure that you change systems from time to time. You also have to make sure that you introduce new systems. Remember, when we talk about strategic plan, we are talking about a plan which needs to be monitored continuously. You cannot say that, yes, we have a strategic plan document and then you keep it there. There should be a way to monitor its implementation. There should be a way to assess progress with regard to the implementation of the projects that has been highlighted in that particular strategic plan. So now, as an IT, you need to be strategic all the time. Now you have to look at things that can help you to attain the objective of your department, to attain the objectives of their business. But again, you should look at those things that might make you to fail to attain your goal as an IT department. What are the things that need to be managed? What are the things? What are the risks that needs to be minimized? You, as an IT department, you have to make sure that you manage your IT strategic plan effectively. You know, when we talk about IT strategy, the question now is, how do we attain whatever you want to attain? How do we attain this goal? It's a strategy. There should be a strategy. Let me again remind you of the most strategy. In most, we are talking about the mission of the department. We are talking about M, With M, we are talking about the mission of the department. And with O, we are talking about the objectives of the department. And with S, we are talking about the strategy of the department. How do you attain the mission or the goal of the department? Now, with T, we are talking about the tactical plans. But the point that I want to drive home is that you need to continuously monitor your IT strategy. You need to be agile all the time. Once you are agile, definitely you will respond appropriately towards the things that need to be addressed there and then. The point that I want to drive home is that you are an IT department. There is a strategy that you have to develop, and this strategy must be aligned with the business strategy. This strategy must be integrated with the business strategy. IT strategy must be aligned with business strategy. IT strategy must be able to talk to the business strategy. IT strategy must help the business to attain its objectives. And if you can be able to do that, I'm telling you, you will run the IT department successfully. And those responsible for monitoring, and in this case, that is the executive management, will be happy about it. Thank you very much.